Okie dokie, let's get started. So essentially what I'm going to be doing today is drawing sort of creatures, monsters kind of thing, because there's a wonderful channel on YouTube that I watch called Popcross Studios, and every month he does a challenge for drawing something which he then posts on his Discord, and he'll pick some of them to redraw. I think I've only ever submitted one thing for his his competitions, so I'll be doing the same kind of thing. I'll be doing one for that today. Now, if this does end up getting too long, I may sort of cut it off and then do some more tomorrow. I don't know at this point. However, let's get started. So, when it comes to sort of creatures and critters and stuff, I've sort of created some before, and they all come from scribbles. So these ones here are these ones here were each originally came from a scribble, and then I sort of put something together. So if we no, I won't do that. So basically had a rough scribble, kind of filled it in, and then moved from there. So I'll be doing a similar kind of thing again today. And sort of the order of the process. Now, this is sort of the teaching side of me coming through, but the idea usually for a process would be, problem or opportunity. So what is it that you're trying to do? Why are you doing what you're doing? In this case, the problem is to create a monster for the Popcross redraw. Then you usually go into research, so searching up stuff that'll help you sort of do this thing. Then you'll go idea generation. Now this is a very simplified structure, but nonetheless, idea generation, then design, then creation, and then adjustment. And so you sort of do all of these. However, with the way I do it, it's not quite like that. It's a little bit closer to this. Oops. Research. Goodness gracious. There we are. Research. And then we also have adjustment. And that's generally how I have it. So all the way through, we end up having research and adjustment going through. So I may be constantly changing my mind, constantly going, you know what, maybe I'll adjust this or adjust this. Ideally, the amount of adjustment will decrease as I go on. However, generally speaking, I find that the amount of research done does correlate with the amount of adjustment done. So, we've already got the problem and the opportunity. Now, the idea generation in this case isn't going to be me coming up with a bunch of ideas. What it's going to be is me doing a bunch of scribbles, creating some silhouettes, and then thinking what could each of these be. For the sake of time, I'll just do, 4 scribbles and then fill them in, and we'll see how that goes. So, yeah, so we've got these wonderful, wonderful scribbles. And we can think about, okay, so what are those going to be? So I'll get rid of that for now. We'll move these guys up here. We'll zoom in a bit so that we can see them just by themselves. So let's have a go. So I'm going to use the shrink selection tool, so that basically selects, well, I'll show you, it selects whatever's present, and we have to have the right layer selected. Yeah, so it just selects the lines themselves and anything that's contained within those lines. What I can do is I can do area scaling so that it actually selects a little bit larger. Let's go maximum area scaling and see how that does it. Meh. Not really doing the job, which is unfortunate. Let's see, to darkest pixel. Let's go with that, shall we? See how that works. There we go. However, that's a little bit too big. But 10 will probably do the job, and I'll just adjust it to the rounded option. So there, we can put that in there and go to sort of a grey kind of colour. We can throw that in there. Yeah. And then we'll sort of work on adjusting how that's going to go. So we select this one, then we select this one, then we select this one, and then we fill them in. So we can now start to think, okay, what is it that we're going to try and draw? Maybe we need to fill in a gap or something like that. Yeah, no, we'll leave it like that. So, I mean, at the moment, I'm thinking this is sort of like a two-legged insect. Kind of thing, maybe with sort of noodly arms. This here, I mean, it almost this one here almost looks kind of like a face, because we've got sort of the nose and then the mouth. However, that's not really going to do the trick. So let's have a think. Oh, I know what it can be. Again, an insect, but so a little bit repetitive, but let's hope that this will change. We can, yeah, so it can be a flying insect kind of thing. There we go. Let's have a look at this one up in the top left. Where do we want? Oh, that's what it can be. It can be sort of like a fish. And we can have sort of this big mouth sort of thing here. And then we can have sort of the tail fins and the fins sort of back here. And that could be a fun one. And now this last one, what are we thinking? That's a good question, actually. So let's, we've got, I mean, I'm almost saying like an elephant kind of look, but yeah. Think about this. Oh, I know. Sort of like a winged lizard kind of thing, where we have sort of the head around here, the wings here, the forearms here, and then sort of like a snake kind of back. That sounds good. So now what we have to do is we have to have a go at throwing in some line art of some sort. Now I quite like the G pen for doing that, just sort of roughing the stuff in. And we'll zoom in a little bit further. Now it may get a little bit pixely, but that's all right. So we wanted sort of wanted the mouth to be sort of there. Now we have to think about, okay, is this going to be a carnivorous critter? Is it going to be herbivorous? Because we're making monsters, we probably want to think scary, so let's go with carnivorous. So we'll put in some big old teeth. And I'm thinking sort of similar kind of thing to like anglerfish kind of stuff. There we are. And we can sort of throw in a few more, because obviously if we want a big scary monster, it should have a lot of teeth, because what doesn't scream frightening other than a lot of teeth? So we sort of have that kind of look going on. This is one of the reasons I like the scribble monster sort of option, because it means that I don't really have to think about what it's gonna look like. It instead sort of just naturally kind of becomes. So this can be some sort of flipper kind of thing. And then we have coming back here. Now I'm just going to sort of fill all the way through onto there. And then again we have that sort of flipper kind of look back there. And we can sort of go like that, fill that off. Maybe this thing has sort of a spike coming off the top of the head as well. Or, oh actually no, that can be sort of a top fin. Yeah, no, sort of like kind of shark kind of thing. Dun dun. Dun 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 dun. And this here, you can sort of bring that kind of inwards, and then to a tail. And it's kind of sort of a curved tail, gives it sort of a weird kind of a look. And so if we hide that away in the scribbles, we now sort of have this kind of shape. We can start adding a few little details, bits and pieces kind of thing. So let's say, we probably want it to have sort of kind of nostril-y kind of bits, because that's always fun. And we want it to look like something that not only would be dangerous, but would also make the viewer, someone who looks at it, go, yeah, I don't really want to have to deal with this. So, oh, I know, we'll go with sort of composite eye kind of look. Because composite eyes make us think of things like spiders. And spiders, in my opinion, are kind of creepy. Actually, I'm going to get rid of some of those. We'll just stick with that for now. There we are. Do we want some sort of a tongue? No. So for now we'll leave it at that. Just sort of put in a few little bits and pieces just to give it a bit more of a texture. Kind of thing. I know lighting underwater is a little bit different, but can still do the job. There we are. So there's our first one. Sort of a weird, creepy fish kind of thing. So now we move on to, let's go with the winged lizard. And again, so we basically just think about, okay, how is this going to look? Now I'm thinking we go with sort of a very long jaw, which then sort of juts up like so, and then sort of comes down and then comes back. That usually suggests something a little bit dangerous. We can throw in a nostril. We can throw in a couple of teeth coming out. We don't want them to look too happy. Yeah, so we've got that. Then we have sort of this kind of arm. I'm just going to sort of put in a little joint here, which I'll erase later. But will kind of go out to sort of like that. And then I'm wanting to go sort of the big bloopy lizard finger, gecko kind of finger thingy. And we can get rid of that. There we go. And purely for the fun of it, oh, sorry, I wasn't keeping an eye on the chat. I've just seen a good idea to add some fish leaving the mouth of the fish monster. So let's just sort of simple little guys. Absolutely oblivious to the fact that he's about to die. Well, maybe one of them knows and is swimming away quite quickly, but the other one, not so much. Yeah, there we go. That's some good fun. So, good suggestion. So, yep, let's get back to the winged lizard kind of thing. So I'm going to sort of put the eyes kind of back here, almost kind of crocodile kind of look. And we'll sort of go there. Actually, even better, because that looks a little bit too cute. I am going to do the most horrible kinds of eyes you can get, which I think I actually had in one of my creatures. Ah, yes. Like goat eye kind of thing. Quite a creepy option, in my opinion. It's looking a little bit too cute at the moment, so we need to figure out some things to make it look a little bit more dangerous. Let's have a go at... oh, I know. We can just start throwing spikes on, because that is always a good option when creating monstrous little critters. So we'll throw that in there, throw that in there, there we go. Except we'll sort of do it like, kind of suggest that it's there instead of just simply saying that it is. Then we can maybe throw on a spike or two over there, and we can, there we go. So that's starting to make it look maybe a bit more dangerous, hopefully. Also, just sort of to make these teeth look like I didn't just throw them in, like I did, we can have a go. We can sort of make it kind of a rounded kind of thing, just suggesting where it's coming from. So if we just get rid of that, that's starting to look fun. Admittedly, the gecko arm, I think, is detracting a little bit from the scary nature of it, but we can keep going. So we have sort of this kind of hump here, and I'm going to go with a bug wing kind of thing, because it's always creepier when you throw in a creature that is not made of things that should go together. And we'll put some more detail on that stuff after. Yeah, I can sort of go, okay, and then there's sort of muscles coming in. We've got that sort of back kind of thing, and then we get into sort of that snaky kind of look at the back. And maybe we'll actually, yeah, that's a fun one. We can actually put like the rattle, sort of a rattlesnake kind of bit on the end. We'll sort of suggest that it's kind of shaking a bit. And so now we have the rough shape. So again, we can sort of get rid of that background scribble, and we can sort of suggest that it's also coming together over there. Also put in the other arm, and we've got there we go. Okay, so now we've got sort of that other arm going in as well. I'm going to throw on a nice old elbow spike, because why not? As we've already established, this fella's a little bit spiky anyway. Quite possibly indeed. Just responding to note in the chat. Oh, missed that. There we go. And so when we think about wings, I'll just go back to that, because I do have the, yeah, there we are. We can have a look at sort of those wings that I did on the old flying slug a wee while ago. And yeah, so I mean the other option is those, which are less wings and more sort of dangerous poison sacks, but we want this guy to be flying. So looking at sort of very sort of segmented kind of a look. do it like, how are we gonna, maybe like that kind of thing, and like that, and we sort of go like that, with a bit like that. And there we've got sort of, it's all very, very rough, I will admit. But that's all we need at the moment as we sort of think about all of this. So yeah, we've got, we'll sort of do a little bit of just sort of very basic shading just to give it a rough idea. And yeah, because we've still got to figure out the other ones as well, and we'll keep going until we've sorted those out. I've got sort of that kind of, I'm basically just sort of throwing some shadows on the lower sides of things just to give it that sort of 3D-ish look. And whichever one we end up doing, we'll do a bit more in the way of these kinds of details, because these are just the rough ideas, the rough concepts at the moment. Yeah. Okay. Have sort of make his eyes look a little bit sunken maybe, and your chin needs to be a little bit more in shadow, and I think we'll leave it at that for that guy. So just quickly, we've got those two fellas just sitting there ready to do crazy things. So we bring back the scribbles. I'm gonna go with the two-legged insect because I actually quite like how that's looking. So yeah, thinking these are gonna be sort of noodly kind of legs, except we do need, or actually if it's going to be an insect, it's going to be sort of those segments. So we do that, and we do a bit of that, and we do that, and we can sort of have it kind of wrap around, and then we'll put some of those sort of hairs which insects kind of use to hold on to stuff. So then we have that bit coming in. Go. So we just put on some of those more hairs. So this is kind of like, generally they're hook-like hairs, but it's a little bit too small for me to be worried about doing it like that. But generally speaking, it they use those hook-like hairs to sort of grab onto stuff, and because they're so small, they're generally quite useful for grabbing onto stuff. So again, we have this sort of line coming out. Now, because we had the 3 segments over the other side, we'll have the 3 segments here as well. So I'll just adjust this a little bit. That's one thing with art I've discovered over the years. Perfection in art does not in fact come from following everything perfectly. It instead comes from allowing yourself to go outside what it was you were supposed to do. So who knows, maybe I change this and maybe it won't be a lizard. I'm not sure. But sorry, it won't be an insect. But that's the thing. That's where you have that freedom. And so we've got sort of a blobby kind of body, and I'll just put, yeah, so this will come in a little bit further and join on sort of around here. And again, because these are monsters, we can go as crazy as we want. So I could have sort of these weird insecty kind of legs, and then change then change the rest of the body to be sort of like, it could be fluffy, I don't know. I am actually thinking that this could be sort of a big sort of fluffy tail kind of thing, because that's just weird, and monsters, you want them to kind of make you question your sanity. So I'm actually thinking this body part may even be sort of a little bit ooh, do we want to keep it insecty, or do we want to sort of make it sort of just thinking whether or not I throw in a make it slimy or something. No, we'll stick with the insect, because what we can do is we can sort of put this underbelly area onto it, and have sort of those plates, which, yes, it is kind of almost lizardy, but it still does the job to make it look a little bit weird. We'll go with, so we've got this here. We'll go with sort of some nice big nostrils sort of around here. And then underneath the nostril we'll have, yes, just had an idea. Yeah, so this is going to end up being less insecty than I had thought. Big old buck teeth. And then we have it's a wee bit ridiculous. And we can get rid of the scribble now and sort of see what we've got. Yikes, that's a little bit terrifying, in my opinion. I will sort of put big pokey outy eyes, because big stalk eyes, because why not? And that is kind of the point of this, make it all look a little bit weird. Although I am getting a few Jar Jar Binks kind of vibes from this guy. We'll go with, yeah, that didn't help. In this case, on this side, we kind of, to make it all look a little bit, have his eyes not quite line up properly. Yeah. So for now, we'll leave it at that. Actually, I'm gonna make these legs a little bit pointier, just because they are kind of annoying me. I'll still have sort of the hairs on them, but make it a little bit a little bit scarier. Yeah, and maybe this guy's running along, and this is why he looks like this. I somehow get the feeling he's not the kind of guy to do yoga, unfortunately. If anything, he's probably running away from the kinds of people who do yoga. Yes. Yeah, no, that's a fun little creature. And now for the last one, or the last idea. So this guy was going to be some sort of flying insect. Ah, yes, that's what I was thinking. So again, we have some wings. Except I'm going to change it up with these wings because we've already had insect type wings. So I'm going to have sort of kind of almost bat kind of wings. And here's again sort of what I mean with you have to be able to be quite happy to change what it is that you're doing. And often that'll end up with you getting some real crazy stuff you never thought you would. So I'll just put some stuff in here to suggest some muscles underneath the wing. Oh, that's what we forgot with the other guy, sorry. Forgot to put in some shading. Just some simple shading, just to suggest what's in shadow and what's not. And the thing is, if the shading follows through, you can tell that a surface is flat, is flush on itself. So you can tell here that this plating on the bottom and the back part of him, it's all the same surface because that shading doesn't change. If it were a different surface, that shading wouldn't cross over. So like for example here, that shading, it's not crossing onto the new surface. And again here, it's not actually crossing over because they're two separate surfaces which aren't connected. So we'll throw some of that in there. Then we'll throw some of that in there. There we go. I don't really need to put the shading where the hair is because it's not going to help me much. And I'm going to put some shading in here just to remind me that I reckon that it's actually sort of curving back almost like that kind of thing. And behind that leg. And we'll put in some shading, just to suggest where the bunches are in the hair. Again, it's just suggesting what's where. It's not forcing me to have to stick to anything, it's just suggesting. Kind of thick? Yeah, that's probably fair. He's a bit chunky. Yeah, let's get back to this one. So flying insect, but we decided we'd throw sort of some bat wings on maybe. Actually, this is not going to be like that. Be more sort of like that. I think maybe. Yeah, we'll figure it out. At the moment, it's just sort of that creative freedom to be whatever it is you want it to be. And again, sort of putting some stuff in to suggest some sort of musculature, because you'll need it for wings, of course. And then we have that. And so because of the way the wings are going, that suggests that way is the head of the body. So we'll put that in here. Now I'm gonna make this whole thing here an eyeball, but it's gonna be sort of that sort of composite kind of eye. that again you get with bugs, and it kind of is a bit creepy because that's what we're looking for. It's not going to be perfect, but it'll do some sort of job. Yeah, I mean, like that there, that's a little bit iffy, but as I said, it does the job, and right now we can't worry about whether it's right so much as whether we're getting something down. Now I'm going to make this bit here sort of a big long droopy proboscis. Almost like a trunk kind of thing, but given the scale of the guy, it's going to be different, but I'm going to make it a bit thinner. Just because otherwise it looks a little bit silly. There we are. And this here is going to sort of be just a big ol' stinger. That's, yeah, it's going to be big old stinger. Yeah. And so now, like this, we could decide to not give it any legs, and I think, yeah, I actually think I'm gonna, that's what we can do, sort of where this lump is. We can have kind of creepy little hands, and we'll if we go with this idea, we'll make that a little bit clearer. Actually, I'm going to go with sort of claw hands instead. No, that's not how that works. Yeah, it's got sort of these creepy little claw hands with a couple of claws coming off. Yeah, and actually I'm gonna adjust it so that it's not sort of side on, but sort of kind of looking forward, so you could almost imagine that it was all just sort of one big dome at the front looking out. So we can go on to here, go along like so. Again, sort of suggest those muscles. Oh, whoops, I did that wrong. Touched with one of the yeah, so then we have sort of that look, and yep, we sort of suggest those muscles in there. And we go all the way over to here, and then we can make sort of the back part a little bit bigger, and that we can sort of have as where all of the venom for the stinger is going to be. And maybe we sort of have some creepy bits where it's like at the moment it's not overly clear, but sort of it'll be sort of where there's venom almost glowing out of it. Oh, that's what we can actually put on the top. Nothing creepier than when they start spawning more of themselves. So have sort of all these little mini guys all flying out the back. which is marginally disturbing. Well, more than marginally, I would say. Very, very disturbing, in my opinion. But yeah, so let's throw in just that basic shading, and I'm just shading all over that bit there. A little bit of shading on there, and just because sometimes they have sort of that indent with spikes and teeth just down that middle part, I'll throw those in there. We'll leave those sort of gap little bits clear. Yeah, so then we have a little bit of shade along here, and make that go up a bit to suggest sort of there's a bit of a junction there. And again, and some more along here. This one's not too bad because it's kind of just a big old noodle with some stuff coming off. And again, sort of having those little bits to suggest that junction in there between the proboscis and the body. And I'm just going to sort of put a little bit in underneath the musculature, just to suggest that little bit of texture to it and 3D-ness. There we are. So we now have our 4 wee little creatures. Now I have to decide which one I'm going to be going with. Which one is the one that I think I can do the most justice to, and I think will be the creepiest. I mean, in all honesty, this one creeps me out a great deal. I'm not sure if I can do it justice though. I'm kind of leaning towards this fella, because I think I could probably... yep, the second one? Yeah. I'm thinking that fella too, because he's got a number of sort of fun, cool things about him while still being able to look creepy. And frankly, those goat eyes just, oof, in my opinion, something comes at me with goat eyes, I'm probably going to run in the opposite direction. Even if it's a goat, actually, because those things can be brutal. So we will select him. And so this... whoops, wrong one. We want to use the lasso tool. Go. And so I'll copy him. We can make a new layer with that. And we'll make him a little bit bigger. There we go. Got sort of that kind of thing. So now we have dealt with, we've now dealt with the idea generation, and so now we can go into the designing a little bit more. I would hope that he wouldn't take your girl, because I'd be very worried for their health for anyone who gets taken by that fella. Yikes. But yeah, so now comes the sort of doing some more research about the various different bits and pieces. So I'm probably going to be looking at sort of crocodiles, looking at flies for the wings, looking at rattlesnakes for the rattler at the end, and then looking at sort of geckos almost for the arms sort of there. How big do I think he is? Or let's have a think. I mean, part of me wants it to be small because he's got insect wings, but I'm kind of thinking, I'm just trying to thinking about the physics of it, because even though it's not real, I do like them to be sort of viable, because if we sort of hide that away and we bring back in these guys, I mean, that slug is never going to fly, but it can still flap its wings, and maybe that's a defense mechanism. This guy, it's actually quite viable because he's got a large lung capacity, which helps for flying animals because it decreases their general density. So he could fly. And then this one, that's perfectly valid. It's just got venom sacs, kind of looks kind of like wood, is kind of insecty. So I do try to keep them reasonably realistic to some degree. So I'm gonna say, those wings would not be able to take much. I would say if you had a person, you'd probably be able to put your hand around the tail part. Yeah, so think about the thickness of the tail being sort of maybe sort of some sort of python kind of size. So if you had a person next to him, what are we gonna do? We're gonna go down here. If you had, put that away, you had a person next to him, you're probably looking, now I do apologize, my stickmen are a little bit terrible. You're probably looking sort of maybe about kind of that size in regards to people, I would think, maybe. So he's not huge, but he could probably do some damage. So lengthwise, if you pulled him out lengthwise, he'd probably be about as long as your average person is tall. Yeah, I'd probably say about there. Anyhow, we'll get rid of that bad stickman. I hope that answers your question. And we'll pull this guy back up to here. And bring that back in. Where was it? Yeah, there we go. So yeah, sort of doing research into sort of all of those little bits and pieces, and yeah, then the goats for the eyes, and those are sort of the bits and pieces I'll be looking at to maybe do a bit of research. So I'm just thinking, especially given that this has been going on for almost an hour now, I may do the research, find some reference images, and come back to it tomorrow. That might be a good idea. And then that allows me to get it right. Do a bit more. Yeah. So we'll do that research side of things, so that we can get that design really, really good, realistic, whilst also entertaining. We'll do it that way. But yeah, I mean, if you guys want to draw any of those little critters created, when will I be streaming tomorrow? Same time. Which down where I am, that's midday New Zealand time. So yeah, I'll be streaming sort of the same time. I'm pretty much streaming the same time every weekday at the moment, given the whole lockdown situation in a lot of countries right now. But yeah, if you guys want to have a play around with the other guys, I'd be quite interested in seeing how you guys go, or you can create your own scribble creatures. But yeah, and I'll just put it in the chat as well. So midday NZ time tomorrow. There we are. And yeah, no, so yeah, I'll sort of find some reference images, and then we can go from there. I do hope it was enjoyable, and do have a good day, guys, and take care of yourselves. Goodbye.